assume that, probably not justifiably, that everyone has done some functional use with the Mark III and are intending to upgrade the use of that machine. So we're going to, some of these valves are really hard when you first start. So, okay, pull some of this stuff off of here so we can start right at the very beginning.
Something to set it out there.
Yeah, once again, you're tearing it apart and putting it back.
I know, I do this so often. But it's easier to be able to see what's going on if I start from the beginning. Okay, so here you go. This is your traditional Mark III with a couple of things missing. One would be the valve that there's a 1/4 inch nipple that fits on here traditionally with the Mark III, where you connect your pressure gauge, the hose to your pressure gauge, that I have removed because we're going to change how we use that. So I've removed the cross, which includes that flare fitting for your pressure gauge, or your, actually it's a dual function gauge, both pressure and vacuum, as well as your vacuum valve and your recycle valve. So I pulled that off. Additionally, it has a little sign on. This belongs to Owen, by the way. Oh, this is Owen, everybody. And when we stop for lunch, man, I think it's time that we probably should all introduce ourselves. It's such a small group, we broke right into the... Okay. I think I got it now. I think I got it. So, you're not going to be using... Owen, would you undo this, please? This one comes out easy. Okay. Just, okay. So we take the overflow hose off, which you all know we will still continue to have a function of the overflow hose, only it's going to be using the flex hose. See the flex hose that we've got there, and which gives us the capability to change our column size with ease. You know, we can run a column 4 by 36, which is that column there that Ty was talking about, that will run to 2.5 pounds, to an 1.5 inch by 1 foot column, if that's what you wanted to do to finish off whatever strain it is that you happen to be using. Or if some friend comes in with, you know, a 1/4 pound plant from their medical garden, and you want to run a
is that the biggest tube you have?
No, we have also run 6 inch by 2 foot columns, and you can run 6 inch by 36, but you got to make sure you've got enough butane in your storage tank to fill that container, because it takes a bunch of space.
How much product would you stick in that?
In the inch or the 6 inch by 36.
Yes.
Probably, you know, 4 pounds ish.
The double.
I'll get long recovery.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not as bad as you think. It is, depending, because we're running 2 pumps. I mean, you noticed out there we're running 2 pumps. It's much slower, of course, if you run 1 pump. So, okay, we've removed most everything that we're going to need to remove, except, well, actually, we're going to also remove the column, as well as the flare at the, or the concentric reducer, the modified concentric reducer. We're going to remove that as well, because we're going to use it at the top. See what we've done up there? We've added the gauge at the top so that you can tell what pressure you've got going in your column. So we're going to remove this end cap with the MPT, and we're going to reserve these 120 mesh screens.
Is there any benefit to having the gauge at the top where the column is, or down lower on, say, where the sight glass is? The gauge, I mean, just so it's just down lower.
You potentially could put it there,
Yeah, just,
but there's so much going on down there.
yeah, I just didn't. I didn't know if there was any difference of having it here, say having it here
Oh, you could.
somewhere.
I mean, you could.
Okay, I just wanted to know if it was good or bad.
The issue is that you have to be on the upside of that valve.
Yeah.
So, and the reason that yeah, so you could put it.
You can put it lower, you just have to be on the upside of the valve is all.
The issue is that it just did a good reuse of that concentric reducer piece at the top. But you could put it at the bottom and eliminate that concentric reducer completely if you wanted. You could do that. I mean, where they are is
Just trying to repurpose parts, I can understand that completely.
right, and it made a real easy add to that. So, and everybody already has it, so it was, so it made it easy. But there's a couple of things. There's another thing that I want to do. She's not afraid of dogs. That's the reason I got her. So she wouldn't run from my dog that chases cats. So, it's an obvious, simple matter. Most of this is pretty blatantly obvious. Professors used to say, blatantly obvious. And so, okay. I know what's going on here.
Look cold.
Sometimes the seals aren't quite the right exact size. And if they're too small, it's not such a problem. It's when they're slightly too big that it's ugly. Trying to smush it into a little space when it's trying to pop out. So, we go here, pop this on. Oh, I should just use Owen. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, Owen, take off that top concentric reducer, remove that. And remove the valve off of it. You can leave the seal there. And take the valve and the flare off of the reducer and take them off.
Oh, this and this flare?
Take them both off at the same time. We're just going to put it on different. And then you're going to put it on this concentric reducer.
This stuff?
Yes. Does it fit? Yes.
The other one's a 3/8, isn't it?
And the other one's 3/8.
And where did you want?
And that will go into the valve, just like it was before. Let me see if I can find where it is. Maybe we should have another.
What's the life of these seals?
Here it is. These seals, it depends on how. So I have people that are constantly calling me and asking me, "Send me another seal."
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing with these seals, man? I mean, I run a lot of material and I don't replace my seals that often. What are you doing?
Is that because they're not seating it right, or something?
Sometimes not seating right, but more often than that, they're cinching them down too tight. So they compress and they lose their memory, and so they don't seal well after that. Okay, so now you need to put this on.
That's what I've done.
So
a little's
that's
good, a lot's better.
Yeah.
I'll order another 8 of those seals for these out. That's exactly what I did. I ruined a set of
Exactly.
seals.
And then add, here you go, Owen, and then add that to
Is there
the
some
end.
direction?
The other direction. You won't be able to use it if you put it any other way.
And actually, I didn't even know that until I watched your video.
Oh, and I haven't got. Would you grab that phone in case it was somebody that needs to get here. We got one guy that's not here.
So you won't be able to use it just because it's facing the wrong way when we do it open?
Yeah, you won't be able to open it because you'll run into the concentric reducer first. So, okay, so now clamp that on top of the valve here.
Like this?
Well, no, you're not gonna wait before you do that. Before you do that, you're getting carried away. We need to add, see, who's got their pocket knife with them? I don't think Thank you. Nice and sharp, too. Okay. So now, I'm gonna put this valve, or this sight glass on, and then
You're not really using many tools to put this together, no, just,
you don't need those
you know,
tools.
nice.
You don't need much. Okay, I'm missing a valve.
I've got a torque wrench, I mean a inch-pound torque wrench for these. And then I took the socket after I watched your video, so you said not to torque them down with anything else. I still torque them down to the 50 inch-pounds like these nut bolts here. I just took a socket and cut it. So I can slide it over there and use the torque wrench. But it gets it all precise.
Precise might be important,
Well, I'm anal about it, that part.
but then again, it might not.
Yeah, it might not.
I'm missing a valve. Let me run.
I just know
one
they
more
said
valve.
these were supposed to be torqued down to 50 inch-pounds. That's on the high pressure. I did that because I already ruined a set of these seals by torquing too much. Stick the little piece of pipe in there.
So, yes, right.
It was fine when you first did it, but after that, if you don't get it down to the same torque, it deforms the seals, and then you do end up with leaks.
No.
Especially if it starts heating up or cooling off even more.
Alright. That's smart.
Okay. Back to it. All right. Okay. Next valve. Need a slam.
Face that direction.
Up, yep. Okay, and now you take that new concentric reducer, put that on top here, gauge. Now you will eventually have to be paying pretty close attention to where those handles go
Right.
for the valves so that you line up and don't go your own way. But fortunately, it's all clamped on, so it's easy enough to adjust and change, being exactly what you need it to be. I just love having somebody else doing all of this. But, so now you see we have two valves coming off of that concentric reducer. One of them is a 1/4 inch ball valve with a 1/4 inch flare on it, and that's now going to be attached to your vacuum pump. Right? So when you repack your column, that you can valve the column off and pull a vacuum on the column before you join the two atmospheres together, or lack thereof. But over here we have the valve set up for our injection port, and we've modified that to a 1/2 inch valve such that we can accommodate the new 1/2 inch flow lines for cryogenic temperatures. So if we put these really close together, it would be ugly trying to spin on the valve and the T appropriately around that other valve handle. So we put a short extension on it just to get it slightly away. So if you want to add this structure to the end of that injection valve, so what we're doing by adding this T and another valve onto this injection valve is we are giving the ability to change the direction of our injection from injecting from the bottom to injecting to the top. So this valve is actually going to connect to the overflow, right? This is where it's most confusing to folks. So, oh, you know what we didn't do is we did not put our overflow or our as well. And we're going to add an 1.5 end cap by female amputee, 1/4 inch female amputee, such that we can add our sight glass onto the system. Oh, and now here I am doing it all, and I was supposed to let Owen do it. Here, Owen, it goes there. I'll try to do better.
Carla,
Any promises?
did you want it heated or just put the pesto and the tomato on the bread?
Oh, I would like to heat the back side. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And then from here, we've got another sight glass. Wait. I don't have to go through the whole thing. Maybe I do. But you want to be careful with this one. I mean, did you see how sharp this knife is, you guys? My dad always had really sharp knives.
They're not very good at that, huh?
Yeah, they're not. This one goes in next.
Well, so it cuts cleanly through the meat of the hand.
Exactly. Here we go. Here's another clamp. So you need to clamp that on right there.
Do you recommend they're going to heat a little bit, just get a basic toast on them? And then pull them out, pull them out, drop them onto that, toast that view. And then it's just that toast tomato and cheese.
Okay, so we got that right there. Still need one more. That. Yeah, it's kind of hanging loose. Gotta dry it. We'll pull it off before we send you away with it. And
Oh, that's right. This is your guys' machine here being built. Sweet.
Kitty, it would be
Hands on.
really a lot
Yeah.
easier for me if you would get out of the way.
To take it to Toyota all the way to come. Got
Okay,
it.
this goes right there, but we're still missing one
Hey, you
seal.
have to stop and open the truck and look at it again too. I did.
Okay, one seal.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens for the next week, Bobby will be informing.
Very good. Here's where you start thinking about how you're setting this up, because this T is going to be meeting with this injection T here. So you're going to have a hose that connects these two together.
Oh, I see.
See what we're doing here? you move this out of the way so it's easier.
How long have you been running that? Like, you said you changed that? That's something you did different from the,
Right. How long, I changed this pretty much right after we built that one.
oh, okay.
So,
How can you change it? What is it?
well, because we were running 2 long hoses to the top, it added a lot more parts to the, you know, and the more parts you got, the more
Just kind of
places
condenses
for
it.
error. This brings it all down to everything's operating right down tight. It just made way more sense to, you know, just kind of like bringing this in, your overflow in to above the sight glass and eliminating the sight glass. And you know, because if you came in right, instead of coming in here, if you came in right here, and then you could use that for a temperature probe or, you know, a blowout valve or whatever else you'd want to add to the system,
like
and
that.
just come in like right here, and then you would eliminate this valve and this valve, take this valve off, stick it, you know, and
Right.
bring your hose in and bring it in right here.
That would work real well. That does
So-
eliminate a sight glass.
Yeah, it eliminates the sight glass and the valve.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way eventually I'm gonna be, but I haven't found the part yet that neatly does that without sending me to the ceiling.
You would tighten it
Further.
in just below that
Between,
sight glass and the valve?
correct. Because, and I would still be sandwiching that sight glass between 2 valves. On this side, I would have 1 valve coming in right there, so I could valve off right there if there was any sort of a rupture. And I could valve off at the top for, you know, containing the column if there was a rupture, and valve off at the bottom, no matter where that rupture was. So, so you still have the ability to isolate that sight glass in the event of issue. But I wanted to make sure everybody sees, if you, this is the part that's the most confusing for people, is how the overflow works in the bidirectional function. So pay close attention to that one. So anyway, we go from there to the 4 by 36 inch column, which we could take these off and you could look at it, but it's only seals inside of there. I mean,
I'm
you've
good.
seen one seal, you've seen them all. At any rate, seals and 4" by 1.5" end cap reducers. You could do conical reducers, and once again that adds more height to the system as well, so this is why I don't have them on here. In the testing, we found that by doing the biflow and getting a good soak, you know, from the bottom to begin with, and then pushing it down from the top, that you eliminate a lot of that need anyway. So you're still pulling it through.
Was the concentric reducer just to keep the butane flowing?
Yeah,
That's splashing through the colony.
Well, it moves it out to the sides, and that was the reason that I went to biflow to begin with, is in looking at the difference between the Mark III with the 1.5" column. It cleans it really well because you're forcing all of that butane through that same diameter, so more butane passes over the same